This week we're going to talk about speech sounds and how we make them, along with something called the IPA. That's not beer, but rather the International Phonetic Alphabet. More on that later. Phonetics is about describing how speech sounds are made. All languages are made up of different sounds, many of which don't occur in other languages, and these individual sounds are called phones. These sounds don't carry meaning in and of themselves. It's only when combined with other sounds that meaning is created. Phonetics is a very useful tool. It's been used by criminal investigators to identify voices on tapes. It's also been used by people to learn languages, especially how to pronounce different sounds or what we'd call accents. It's also used in acting, as well as areas like speech therapy. And it also gives you an understanding of how your own language works in terms of sound. There are three types of phonetics. Articulatory phonetics, which we're going to focus on here, which is interested in how speech sounds are produced. And this focuses on the sender of the signal. There's also acoustic phonetics, which involves study of the physical properties of speech sounds or sound waves. And finally, auditory phonetics. And this is all about how sounds are perceived in the brain. These are usually done in a lab and obviously focuses on the listener rather than the speaker. Again, in this class we're going to focus on articulatory phonetics. We'll begin by looking at our writing system or orthography in English. In English, we know that how we write is not the same as how we speak. In this example, we can see that tough, cough, bow, though, through, burr, and hiccup are all spelled similarly. They have the same letters at the end of the word, and yet all of them are pronounced differently. So we can say that there is no one-to-one correspondence between the symbol or the letter and the sound that it represents. So in some cases, the same letter, like A, represent totally different sounds, like dad, father, about, and many. Or different letters can represent the same sound as a believe, people, amoeba, and tree. And some letters, they don't have any sound at all. It turns out that some of these used to be pronounced, but we no longer pronounce them. In other languages, aside from English, like Spanish, there is actually a better correspondence between sound and symbol. And so the cultural phenomena of spelling bees are not really a part of their cultural tradition as they are in English. This lack of correspondence between spelling and pronunciation irritated writer George Bernard Shaw so much that he campaigned for English spelling reform. And he even included money in his will for someone to fully develop just such an alphabet. Shaw came up with this example of goatee. So the question is, what would you eat with goatee? And the answer is chips, because goatee could potentially be pronounced fish. So you'd have to take the GH in laugh, the O from women, and the T from TI from nation to produce the word fish. Shaw pointed out that one could shave seconds of time off reading or writing with spelling reform. Obviously, though, this never happened, and it went the way of Americans trying to convert to metric. Though someone did develop a writing system as requested in his will. And there's even one of Shaw's plays written in this writing system. Linguists also needed an alphabet that they could all read accurately and that could transcribe all the world's language. A system called the International Phonetic Alphabet was developed, or the IPA. Importantly, the system has a one sound, one symbol rule. And the IPA looks something like this, where some of the characters look familiar and other ones don't. So the actual IPA chart, and this is actually a somewhat older version, looks something like this. It's a little intimidating at first, but that's because it has to capture as nearly as possible all the sounds of the world's languages, both consonants, shown here, and vowels, and other sounds like click sounds as well. We actually encounter the IPA all the time and just completely ignore it because it looks like gibberish. One place that you can find the IPA is Wikipedia. And of course, our friend Noam Chomsky here, his name is obviously going to be written in the IPA, but not all entries are. But the next time you're on Wikipedia, check it out and see if there's an IPA entry.